Black Mountain holding here on tag 5.
Yeah, 4 Victor Golf, we're kind of freelance along this uncontrolled edge here, trying to keep it out of Mount Rose Ski Resort.
It's crazy how you can feel the heat through the window.
This one was, it all blurs together because we didn't sleep the first couple days, but it's burning, it's hot, and it just nukes the landscape. As it came over the ridge, because of that shift in aspect and because of the fuels work, fire dropped from the treetops back down onto the ground, and then it's backing, it's fighting the hillside to get down into the houses. So our flame lengths are smaller, our rates of spread are lower. That's what we were focused on for the first 6 or 8 hours, right? We had people trapped, we had civilians cut off, like all of the effort was going into life safety, and the extra stuff that we had was focused on structure protection. We weren't even trying to put the fire out. It was just minimizing loss for those first day or two. But we were on a fire 2 or 3 weeks later in Idaho, did one 7-mile run and one 12-mile run through the trees, and we lost structures. It just was less densely populated. And so that day had the modeling played out. I think there were close to 900 homes in the footprint that would have been impacted. We had, at that point, about 700 firefighters on the ground, which is all we could get.
I would say there's a very clear difference between this community, we're above Galena Forest Estates here, and then you're on the other side where we did lose homes at St. James Village. There's a very clear difference in fuel type and their kind of involvement with fuels reduction work in defensible space. The ideal scenario of somebody, a house that survived through the fire in St. James Village is somebody that had a hardened house that had all of the best advancements in building code. They had their fuels cleared around their house.
And I preach this to the communities. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when and how it burns, period. The ecosystem has evolved to do this. Like, it's not, this piece of ground that we're standing on will burn again, right?
This spot is kind of interesting because it shows the difference between the initial attack and the fuels treatments or lack of fuels treatments. If you look over my right shoulder, you can see that there's a lot of green needle trees, and this is from the initial attack. The winds were coming from the south, pretty intense, but they were kind of pushing across the valley. This spot's unique because the fire was essentially stopped after the initial attack along this ridge that's out in front of me, and then you can tell in these areas that had no fuels treatment or very old or very little fuels treatments, the difference between these blacktop, totally burned out trees and the trees with still green needles or less burned needles.
Here we are, we're standing on the northern edge of the Davis fire. The fire came up on the other side of Mount Rose Highway. It blew over and spotted Mount Rose Highway in the middle of the night, which is really unusual because usually the winds die down in the nighttime. And we were really worried that if we weren't going to catch it here at this power line, then this fire would have gone so big and so destructive. They took a dozer and came down this power line to clear out the fuel, put in a fire break, and then the firefighters then took fire from the top of the hill and brought it down all the way down to the bottom of Galena Creek Regional Park using drip torches. They were supported by aircraft, so they had 4 super scoopers. And so if we didn't hold it here, this fire would have gone huge. It would have burned into unthinned forest. The firefighters wouldn't have been able to stop it. So this was kind of the last stand, and we were all so grateful that they were able to stop this fire here. Another thing I just wanted to mention in here, if you look behind me, this is where the firefighters were able to carry the fire downhill with the aircraft supporting them. If we're able to thin out a forest before a wildfire comes through, you've created space in between the trees, you reduce the height of the brush, and when a fire does burn through there, hopefully the fire stays on the ground. It doesn't move as fast as if it got up into the canopy of trees and started making a run through the tree crowns. When a wildfire burns through communities, a lot of people think that it's the flaming front of the fire that will burn their homes down. That's not necessarily the case, because when you have a wind-driven fire or a fire that gets up into the canopy of trees, you have these embers that shoot out far in advance of the fire. They can travel over a mile. And so your house might not have a fire burn right up to it, but it may have a bunch of embers coming from the fire that might be farther away. And those embers can catch houses on fire, especially if there's a lot of flammable material on the roof or right around your home. So really keeping that lean, clean, and green, 0 to 5 feet area around your home. That needs to be maintained frequently because our fires don't always just happen during the summer season. Some of our most destructive fires around here happen in wintertime when we get those dry, cold fronts that blow in. And if there's a fire start on a windy day, it's off to the races.
We could see a plume of smoke in the air, not knowing at all where it was located at. Shortly after that, my wife called and said that they've evacuated the house because the fire was right next door, and they're going to a neighbor's house that lives in Pleasant Valley, and we'll talk soon. So obviously it was scary. Our neighbor right across the way works for National Guard. He was over on just a block down the road, saw the smoke, and he just started running, knocking on doors, saying, "Get out, the fire is coming." And thankfully they jumped in the minivan and started driving out. The power immediately got shut off in the neighborhood. So the garage doors barely just got up, and which we've learned that we needed to change our garage door because if she was 2 minutes later and the power was off, she wouldn't have been able to manually push the garage door to even get the van out, and they would have been stuck. So that was really scary. And the kids obviously had an imprint in that in their minds for a while. One of our guys had nightmares for a couple of weeks just thinking about that.
Hi, I'm Eli DeDecker, and I'm going to tell you about the Davis Creek fire. First, when I was in my room, I looked out and the sky was completely red. And second, downstairs, our neighbor next door was telling us that a fire had struck out at Davis Creek and jumped the road and was coming fast toward this community.
So I was familiar with Living with Fire program, and I took some landscaping classes. So as we moved into this property and just thought about wanting to develop it, wanting to make it great for our family, but also very aware of the risk of fire. And so how could we prepare our property in the best way possible? The community has definitely rallied around our neighbor that lost his home and has provided some support to the individual that ran down the street knocking on each other's doors. So I think the community is rallying around those, and we've become closer from it.
The only stuff that didn't burn was stuff that's kind of behind defensible space. I'd love to say we did it on purpose, but I think we just had a good landscaper who had fire in mind when we first moved here.
Yeah, I mean, thank goodness for this TG and these pavers.
Yeah.
And grass. The grass is still here. The sprinklers were on.
So we had, I think, overall 23 windows damaged, and this one here is a little different. You can't really see it from here, but the heat cracked the glass in this one. So, I mean, this was kind of a shock to the whole community, I guess. There's 200-ish, 180 houses in the area here. So we got together right after that as a community, had a community meeting and talked about, how we figure out how to do it better next time, lessons learned. And what we ended up out of that was our homeowners association had established a fire safety committee. And that's been pretty active, both in looking at the damage and trying to mitigate the problems that will come with erosion and soil stabilization and revegetation. And also we looked at and now officially, as of a couple of days ago, a certified firewise community, which involves really, there's several aspects, but essentially hardening the whole community against fire and the damage that it can cause. The wind just howls down here, so if a fire could start literally half a mile away, you'll get no warning. So you just need to be prepared to act very quickly. These people who just kind of, I've got plenty of time, that's not always true.
One of the neighbors was over, and we just happened to look out the back window and going, that looks like smoke. And we kept an eye on it and turned on the television and try and find out what was going on. But it got worse, and then we're gonna have to leave. How inconvenient is that? What should we take? Oh, we don't need much. Everything's replaceable except for yourself, right? And we left. This is on Saturday about noon time, 1 o'clock, something like that. Evacuated down the hill, sat there all day, watched the fire. At the evening time, the fire started to die down. Looked like it wasn't gonna get any worse. We came back home. We have our own generator, so we fired up the generator and we were just fine. Got up the next morning, Sunday morning. Beautiful blue sky, just like it is here today, and thinking, wow, this was great. We, just were inconvenienced for one afternoon, and now they've got everything under control. Well, about 11:30 that morning, this is on Sunday morning, we're looking out the back window, and a big black cloud of smoke. And when you can see the particles moving in the smoke, you know you're close. So once again, and we had unpacked the night before, put all that duffel bag stuff away. So this time you would think, okay, now we have a better idea. We did the exact same thing. The fact that our forest is so dense, it impacts the survival of the neighborhood in a very negative manner. The biggest thing that the individual residents in our community can do is the defensible space work. And that's things that can be hired, done, or pretty easy to do them yourself. I mean, it's a lot of physical work, there's no two ways about it. We make sure that everybody understands that this immediate zone, the 5 feet from the house out, is the most important for saving your house.
Hey everybody, it's Jeremy Renner. We're out here with all our first responders, celebrating them and what they do all the time, especially for this last fire we had. Came a little too close for us, but I'm very happy. We love these guys. We're out here at the Sky Tavern. Living with Fire is here as well. I got a couple trucks here that I used to own that are now part of volunteer firefighters, which makes me so happy. It's nice to see a lot of good people do a lot of good things for this community.